Welcome to DataBiome channel as part of DuckDB series. Today we are going to explore how can we ask DuckDB in plain English language. At the end of this video, you are going to have a solid understanding of the DuckDB local MCP server that you can use to ask any kind of query in the plain English language. As part of this video, first of all, we are going to focus on what is MCP or Model Context Protocol. Then we will understand what exactly is MCP server. And then we will learn about how to configure DuckDB or MotherDuck local MCP server so that you can ask any kind of query in plain English language. So this is the official website of the MCP or Model Context Protocol. Model Context Protocol has been given by the Claude or the Anthropic team, and this has become the de facto standard protocol for any kind of AI application or agent. So you must know about MCP. If you're already working in the AI/ML space, I'm sure you must have a solid understanding of what exactly is a model context protocol and how can we use different kind of MCP server to get any kind of data with the help of any LLM or large language model. So first, what is the Model Context Protocol? Model Context Protocol is an open source standard for connecting AI applications to external systems. So AI applications are powerful enough, but in order to become more effective, AI application need to access your data or access the data of any company or enterprise. And the data can be a CRM data, a transactional data, marketing data, all sort of possibilities exist. And it can be even any kind of engine calculators. So using MCP, AI applications like Claude or ChatGPT, or it can be even Perplexity, Grok, there are so many these days, can connect to data sources. Now, data source can be a local file, a relational database, a NoSQL database, graph database. It can be any tools like search engines, calculators, and even workflows like specialized prompts, enabling them to access key information and perform tasks. And you can think of MCP like a USB-C port for AI application. So just like USB-C port that gives a standard way to connect any kind of electronic devices to your system, MCP serve the same purpose for AI application. And this image explain a lot of things. So with the help of MCP standardized protocol, any type of AI application. Now that can be a chat interface like Claude Desktop, Live Chat. It can be even any kind of IDE and code editor like Claude Code, VS Code, Goose, or it can be even other AI application, Fire or Super interface, and it can be even any kind of agent which you have created. Then this is a typical client server architecture. So AI application is at the client side and there will be certain data sources and tools at the server side. Now at the server side, there can be data and file systems. It can be PostgreSQL, SQL Server, MySQL, SQLite. It can be even any graph databases. It can be Google Drive, OneDrive. It can be even development tools like Git, Sentry, GitLab, or it can be even productivity tools like Slack, Google Maps, Teams. There will be bidirectional data flow between client and server. That is the important part. Now let's see what can MCP enable. So agents can access your Google Calendar and Notion, acting as a more personalized AI assistant. Cloud Code can generate an entire web app using a Figma design. I'm sure you must have heard of Figma, which is a very popular tool for create any kind of UI design in case of web apps or mobile apps. And enterprise chatbots can connect to multiple databases across an organization, empowering users to analyze data using chat. So it can be used even for building chat applications. AI models can create 3D designs on Blender and print them out using a 3D printer. So you can imagine you can connect to any kind of resource in this case. Now, why does MCP matter? It has different benefits for different roles. And developers, MCP reduces the development time and complexity when building or integrating with an AI application or agent. Now, why? Because how? Because it's a MCP protocol, and any protocol has certain sets of guidelines which you follow. Then you can create effective applications. AI application or agents. MCP provide access to an ecosystem of data sources, tools, and apps which will enable capabilities and improve the end user experience. And even for end users, MCP result in more capable AI application or agent which can access your data and take actions on your behalf when necessary in case of any agentic AI workflows. Now it has a broad ecosystem support. As I told you before, you can think of like a client and server architecture, and it has become standard and used everywhere all over the world. So what can you create? You can create a MCP server, and you can also create a MCP client for different programming languages. If we see the architecture, now we are not going to discuss much on the MCP client. How can you create a MCP client? But in the upcoming tutorial, we'll definitely explore this part. For the time being, just let's see the architecture. So if we talk about the architecture, there are certain things you need to know. First of all, there is MCP specifications that outlines the implementation requirement for client and servers. Then we have MCP software development kit or SDKs for different programming languages that implement MCP. And then we have MCP development tools that helps in the development like MCP inspector, and even we have reference server implementations of MCP servers. Now the key participant in the MCP architecture are MCP host, MCP client, and MCP server. So there will be a client which will be running on an MCP host, that is the AI application, and then it will establish a dedicated connection to a MCP server. Now remember, this MCP server, it can be a file system, a database, or Sentry, Git. There are so many possibilities. And single MCP server can be reused by different clients. So that is something, another advantage, reusability of MCP servers. Then we have two layers, that is the data layer and the transport layer. Now it defines the RPC based protocol. So it's RPC means it's remote procedure call. Now this is a very old concept where a remote procedure can be invoked just like a local procedure for client server communication. So it will take care of the lifecycle management and code primitives like tools, resources, prompts, and notification. We will see shortly what is tools, resources, prompts. And transport layer that will define the communication mechanism and channels that enable data exchange between the client and the server. That includes the transport specific connection establishment, the message framing, and authorization. So data layer is the inner layer while the transport layer is the outer layer. You can think like that. We are not going to dedicate more time to this, but let's understand two main things. So if you are creating any local application, a local MCP server, then you have to go with the STDIO transport. But in case you want to create any remote MCP server that can be used over internet, then you have to go with the streamable HTTP transport that will use HTTP post method. Okay, let's just understand more about the tools, resources, and prompts that are called the primitives, and they are the most important concept. So tools you can think of executable functions and that AI application can invoke to perform certain action. And if it is a some kind of a file system, then it can perform read, write, append kind of operation. If in case of API calls, it can do fetching of data, updating, any kind of deletion. In case of database queries, it can be a select, insert, create, so any DML or DDL operation. Then it has something called resources, and resources provide the contextual information to AI application, and this can be any kind of metadata, or it can be file content, database records, API responses. It can be even any kind of policy document, any kind of branding document, depending on where you are using the MCP. It can be even a prompt that is nothing but a usable template that helps structure interactions with the language models, like system prompts, few short examples. All right, so we have understood a bit about the MCP protocol. For the time being, you can think of you need this protocol whenever you are connecting your AI application with any external system, and that external system can be a resource, can be a file system, can be a database, can be a graph database, can be a document, can be a JSON file. There are n possibilities. Now let's understand the MCP server or the local MCP server which we are going to use. And this is the standard documentation that is available on GitHub from the MotherDuck team. And the name of this server is MCP server MotherDuck. Now don't get confused. MotherDuck is the paid version of DuckDB. It's a data warehousing solution from the same team. So the same server can be used for both MotherDuck as well as DuckDB. And there is another key thing you have to remember that then on April 24, Microsoft will start using GitHub Copilot interaction data for AI model training unless we opt out. And this is something you should understand. In case you don't want to enable it, you can go to the account settings and disable. All right, so DuckDB MotherDuck local MCP server. Then we have two flavors. First is the remote MCP, and the second is the local MCP, this repo. And remote MCP server is hosted by MotherDuck team. It has zero setup, read write supported. In case of local MCP server, it runs locally, or you can also have self-hosted. It requires local installation, read write is supported as well, just like in remote MCP. And local file system is also supported that query across local and remote databases, ingest data from and export to local file system. So you can even uh, populate the output data to some file. Okay, so how can we do it? First of all, you need to install a UB. Now, in case you are in Windows, you can install using pip install UB command, or in case of MacBook, you can use a brew install UB, and there are some other options as well. Now, connecting to in-memory DuckDB in the development mode is quite simple. Just copy this, and for connecting to a persistent in read-only mode, you can do like this. But in this case, remember, you have to use read-only. This one is read-write. And in case you want to connect to a MotherDuck, then you can also use MotherDuck local read-write like this. Now client, you need a client to interact with the MCP server, and that client can be a cloud desktop. There is a install process here. It can be a cloud code, so you can use CLI command, codex CLI, Gemini CLI, cursor, and VS Code. In today's video, we will focus on VS Code. And then this is the most important part. So it will expose 5 tools. Now, tools are the actions allowed for any MCP server, and you should always understand what all tools any MCP server supports. So in this case, you can execute any kind of query. Then it's list databases, so you can list all databases which are attached, and you can also list tables or views. You can list columns. You can switch database connection as well. In case you want to secure it, you have further other options. But the most important part is all tools will return JSON format. And results are limited to 1024 rows. That is another key limitation you should remember. Or 50,000 characters by default. Now, these tools LLM server will use, so you don't have to worry about that. Based on your prompt, it will understand the context and invoke one or more of these tools. Great. So this is my VS Code editor. First of all, I need to connect to a GitHub account. I have just signed out because I wanted to show you how you can first connect to the GitHub account. So if I go to users options, I don't see anything here, but here you will see that there is an option called signed out. If I click on that, there is an option sign in to use AI features. So let's just click on that. It will ask you for option how you want to connect to GitHub. So I will continue with GitHub, and since this is my default browser, I can continue to sign in as my GitHub account. Need to give certain access, and then it will launch it. Now it's connected to the GitHub account. If you click on this icon, you will see the 18% is used. So it means I have asked the chat 9 times so far. That's why it's 18%. And once it reaches 100%, I will not be able to use it further, as it is a free Copilot free account, and that's the limit they have implemented. So in a single month, you can use this chat 50 prompts. And if I see in this option now, you can see I'm connected to the GitHub account. Once you are connected to the GitHub account, so this is my new folder. I need to open the folder. So let's just open the folder called MCP. It's empty currently. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new folder here called VS Code. And then inside this folder, I'm going to create a new file. So there are various options you can create an MCP server in VS Code. I like this option, and I will say mcp.json. And here inside the mcp.json, we need to provide the, okay, let's go to this one. Remember, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tools: execute query, list databases, list tables, list column, and switch database connection. So we are going to see how these work, but currently we are interested in in-memory DuckDB. So we are going to use in-memory DuckDB this time, and later on we will save this in-memory data into a persistent file, into a path. So if you are on VS Code, you need to use pip install UB because this is a prerequisite. So UB is a package manager and you need to install it in Windows, or if you have a MacBook, you need to install using brew install UB. Once you install UB, you need to restart the VS Code. Let me click on this, copied, and I go to VS Code and copy paste this. Now in VS Code, this will not work. You need to replace it with server. So I will need to have servers, and then the error will go away. Notice it's DuckDB in memory, read write, and command is ubx. Argument passed is MCP server MotherDuck. So it's using that the server MotherDuck. So same server can be used for both MotherDuck and DuckDB, as MotherDuck is also from a DuckDB creators, but it's paid. And there's a DB path, so it's in memory. That's why we are passing just memory parameter. And read write, because you can read and write as well. So both read write possible. You can not just ask any SQL queries, any select queries, but you can also insert, update, and delete data with the help of prompts. And then it's allow switching to different databases. Great. Let's just say control, just save it. And once you save it, you will see this option called start if everything is right about the syntax. So let me just click on start now. Now it's saying the command ubx needed to run DuckDB was not found. So first of all, you need to ensure that the UB is installed. How can I ensure? I will go to new terminal and say which UB. It will show you a path. Just copy this path, guys, and paste it here. And instead of UV, just give UVX. That's fine. And save it. Again, try restarting. It will not work. What you have to do, you have to restart the VS Code. Let me just restart. And now it will work. So I will go to the same folder. So open the folder, MCP. And now if I click on start, I can see it's saying, okay, we need to run DuckDB was not found. So it's still saying not found. Let's just go to terminal and say which UV. I think we missed this slash. Yeah, that's why it's saying not found. Okay, now it will work for sure. Let's just restart. It's again saying stopping, so let's start it, restart again. I'm a bit new to MacBook, so pardon me for any mistakes. Okay, so MCP, and let's just start now. So it's working now. Great. So it's running. You can stop, you can restart, and notice it's 5 tools it has access. Now, what are these 5 tools? We already know. If we scroll down, these are the 5 tools which this server exposes. So you can execute any query, you can list any databases, you can list table, list columns, or you can also switch to another database connection. Great. Let's go to chat. You can go to view and click on chat. Now we can chat with this database. So currently it's empty. What we can say, create a new table. So it will use that default database. It will say employee. Employee table, new table employee with 10 rows of sample data. Ensure it has ensure it has a salary and hmm, let's just say joining date column. So any kind of prompt is possible. Now as soon you type this and click on enter, but before that let's just see certain options. So we have an agent mode where we can read write any kind of files in the workspace. Then we have a ask mode where we will not make any changes in any of these files in our workspace, but we can ask questions about it. And then is a plan where you will research or step by step something. In case of complex tasks, you generally go with the plan approach. So we have three possibilities. We go with agent because he even want to write this file. Why? You will come to know a little bit later. And another thing which is interesting is there's a local. So we can connect to local, and we can also connect to other options. So this is fine. Then there is a option here. If we configure the tools here, you will see there are some other tools which exist here in the GitHub. Let's just and there is one more thing which I want to show you, that is auto. Yes, so currently it's auto. It will pick any kind of model depending on your query, but otherwise you can configure any other. You can select a particular model, and you can also go to the other models and you can use it. So you have the flexibility, right? Let's just remain let's just keep it auto and click on enter. As soon you click on enter, it will understand the prompt, the LLM, and then it will interact with your MCP server, in this case local DuckDB server, and will create a table. Now it has given you that we are going to do that employee, new table employee with ID, name, salary, because we have told in the prompt like we need to have a salary and joining date as well. So it has taken care. You can see the salary, and then it's inserting some sample rows as well. So 10 rows, right? And you have certain option. You can escape or you can allow in this session. You can select. You can say allow once, allow in this workspace, or you can say always allow. Now I will just say allow once. It will run the query. You can see the query, by the way. So it is creating a table and you get the output success. Great. So you get that output, and after that, once it update, it's saying you want to select the data. Let's just say yes, we want to select the data. So it will successfully created the employee table in the DuckDB database with the following structure. The table now contains 10 rows of sample employee data, including salary and joining date columns as requested. The salaries range from 50,000 to 61, so it's giving some additional details. And joining dates span from 2018 to 2022. You can query the tables using select star from employee to view all the data. Incredible, isn't it? So you have not written any kind of queries with just prompt. It's doing everything in the background. Now I don't have any city column. Let's just add a city column as well. So add a city column and populate with cities, different cities in UK, different cities in UK. So now let's just see the usage as well. So 18%, 20%. So we have used 10 times now, right? So once it's reach 100, it's over. But we have lots of things to see. So let's just run it. It will use now alter command the background to add a new column, and then it will now it's running this query. You can see, and it has successfully added a city column. And this is how the new world looks like. So you can just write a prompt and you can connect to any kind of resource and you can ask questions. In the olden days, we used to have some kind of report, like in Power BI, Tableau, Looker, where the business stakeholders interact with the data and gain the insights and do the decision making. But nowadays, if you have the dimensional model in your warehouse or the lake house, and if you expose it by an MCP server, so you can create your own MCP server. We will learn in the future how can we create our own MCP server with the help of libraries like fast MCP. And then it become quite incredible. But remember, you need to put guardrails as well, so that in case something is not allowed, like you don't want to allow any dropping of table, then you have to mention to the LLM that you need to take care of these guardrails before running any kind of queries. So all of these things will come into play. Lot of governance, lot of data security you need to keep in mind. Otherwise, it might go wrong and there can be blunder. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we are going to it has populated the city data. Let's just ask a bit complex query. List the employees in tabular format with the salary and city that joined in last two. So it has populated data for 2022. Okay, so we can say between, because we need to get some data, 2018 and 2020 with salary and city. Fine. So, and it has given you the data. Great. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to save this in-memory database to a persistent file, or so that we can use the data. So we can say uh, save the current database to a persistent file and close the connection. Otherwise, it might put like some lock. Okay, let's say save the current database to persistent file, update the mcp.json for this persistent database, and close the connection and switch database to new persistent file. So we're writing everything in single prompt because we have limits. I will just click on this. I will just press enter and see. So it's evaluating. It's running the query. You can see it's created the employee.db, and then I think it's misunderstood. It's replacing the content. Let's just say, let's just skip. You can skip always. So, okay, so I will just say, okay, let me give another prompt that I want you to add a new MCP server in mcp.json rather than updating it. Yes, now it's looks all right because it's adding a new allowance session. And you can see, guys, it has updated the mcp.json. JSON. Close the connection. Now what we can keep, so if you need to click on you need to click on keep so that it will be saved, and it has saved now. Let's see the usage. So 20%, 28 in fact. And now we can ask any question to the persistent database. So we can say, how many employees lived in London? Connect to, okay, let's see, let's give a prompt that connect to persistent and file and list all employees lived in London. Okay, London in JSON format. So you can write data in any format. Now if you write a better prompt, then it will understand, and it's clever enough to understand this. So it's giving you some more data, metadata about what is happening in the background, and then it's saying select star from employee. You can see the query where city equal to London. Let's just run. So there is an error because there is certain lock, and then it has given the data that is coming in JSON. There is only one row. This shows one employee who lives in London with a salary of $50,000 and joining date of 2020-01-15. The database connection is to the persistent file, guys. All right, so we have seen how can we use GitHub Copilot to interact with local MCP server. Now you can even use Cloud Desktop. You can use any kind of agent to do the same thing. You just need to write a prompt and use any LLM model in the background. And that's how the things become so easy these days. Any kind of query, it will understand. It can be grouped by having, it can be even ranked. You just need to write a good prompt. You can stop any MCP server. So I can stop this, clicking on stop. I can again start. I can list. So I can say Control Shift P. So if I give then I can list all the servers. You can see this stop, it's running, it's another called Pylons, and there's Azure MCP that is also running here. Now, a few other things that are interesting. You can use @ to interact with your agents, and you can so this is and you can also have option called hash. So if I give a hash here, where is hash in Mac? So if I go hash, then okay, so how can I use hash? Yeah, so when you give hash, it will you can add the context to this files, any kind of files you can use, right? So I can say it's you can see MCP JSON is coming. So lots of things are possible. GitHub Copilot Chat is a good option, but we will see it later. And This is how we can use MCP server to ask any kind of queries in plain English language. If you have learned something new, give a like and subscribe our channel. We are going to create lots of new content in different tools, technology, and of course for AI and ML workflows. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.